We're Hassani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships.
This is the Couples Academy Show.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hassani.
I'm Danielle.
Every morning we come to you for 30 minutes. Now, you may notice it's 9:30 a.m. You're like, well, what's up with these jokers? Why are they 30 minutes late? We've been waiting, and this is what they do to us? Listen, guys, we have a brand new time. We're starting at 9:30 because guess what? We got kids. And we got new schedules, and we have 2 children who are being homeschooled, 2 children who actually go to a physical school. So that's changed how we do our mornings. So we hope that you will continue to be with us just 30 minutes later. So maybe you're doing this during drive time. Hopefully you're not doing any drive-bys. Hopefully you're doing this while you're drinking coffee when you're in front of the computer. But nonetheless, we're glad to have you with us this morning.
Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for all the new people. If this is your first time, you do not want to miss a show. Hit that notification bell. When you do that, you'll get a notification that we're going live at the new time, which is 9:30. And when you come on here, just make sure that you let us know you're here by saying good morning. Tell us who you are and where you're from. We're keeping track and building a list of all the places that you guys are tuning in from. So I just want to say good morning to JG, Kia Bello, good morning. Well, we see Couples Academy. That's me posting my own stuff. Good morning, D. Faison. Good morning, Ralph Welsh. Tanya, hey, good to see you, sis. Noreen, Cassie, all these folks, we have seen them before. We got Philadelphia in the building. We got Columbia, South Carolina, Texas. Thank you guys for joining us from all over the place, from wherever you are, whether you're driving in a car, in your bed, having coffee with your spouse. We really appreciate you. Those who are tuning in alone and together, it only takes one. Draw a circle around your 2 feet and you will see transformation all around you. So let's jump. Let's jump.
Today we're talking about a very important topic that I think sometimes we just need to pause and talk to you from the heart about what's going on in your home. Many of you are stuck. Many of you are unhappy. You're miserable. Oof. And you've been struggling with, what do I do? How do I get out of this unstuck feeling? And you vacillate back and forth. Do I stay? Do I go? Do I just give up, throw in the towel, and call it quits? And you're thinking about all the reasons why you want to leave, but then you feel trapped because of finances, because of children, because of reputation, because of other people who will be impacted by your decision. And so this morning I was reading an interesting article, and it basically said that parents who have children, once they have children in their marriage, 70% of them are unhappy. We know that children are a blessing, but they can be a love buster. There's a lot of responsibilities that come along with new babies. It changes the dynamic of the relationship. Everything shifts and changes when children come into play. Not that they're the only reason, but they're one of the reasons. But I was just talking about some of the contributing factors as to why people are miserable. And overwhelmingly, 70% of them are miserable soon in their relationship. But interestingly enough, it said that the best thing you can do if you're miserable in your marriage is to stay in it, because statistics also suggest that those same couples 10 years later, when they were reviewed again, they were extremely happy.
Yes.
And I think many people throw in the towel and they just want to throw it all away when they're currently in their situation and they see that there's no hope and help for the future.
Yeah, I think there's something to be said about the journey in general. Think about every area of your life where you have come from a place to a place. You actually can look in that rearview mirror and say, wow, I remember when. Do you remember when? So it makes sense that if you stick it out even through tough times, you actually have that person by your side who you have history with, who you can go back to a time when and actually look at, Dad, can you believe, remember how unhappy we were? We talk about this all the time. Remember how we hated each other? We didn't like each other. Wow, can't believe where we are now. Yeah. So it makes sense that there is a reward for sticking it through.
Absolutely. You know, statistics obviously suggest that upwards of 50% of all marriages end in divorce. And so then the question becomes, well, what about those who stay married? Because being married doesn't necessarily guarantee success. No. Well, we know that there's many people who are married and miserable. Mm-hmm. We were one of those couples. And so what happens is, if you look at just a simple pie chart, if 50% are legally divorced, then that means 50% stay together. But how are they? Well, 30% experience what we call an emotional or social divorce. So they're disconnected. They don't enjoy each other. We talk about the difference between partnership and companionship. Mm-hmm. There is no companionship. Mm-hmm. There's no emotional connection. They are as far apart as the East is from the West. They feel miserable in their relationship. So yes, we're legally married technically, but I got my own life, you got yours. We go half on babies, we go half on bills, we go half on life. We may have sex occasionally, we may do a vacation every now and then, and we're doing it for the kids. We're half in, half out. We're physically there, but our minds and our emotions are somewhere completely different. Yeah. We're just not in a good space. Right. And so if 50% are legally divorced, 30% are emotionally or socially divorced, that's 80% of all couples who've experienced some kind of divorce.
I think we see that a lot. I mean, that's pretty much what we're looking at day to day. One of the reasons why when we were going through our issues, we're like, why can't we find one single happy couple that we can look to and say, see, that's a good reason for us to get married? Because folks are just staying together, but they're not happy. They're not connected. Yeah. They're not bonded in any way. They actually are doing it for the kids, or doing it for the finances, or doing it because of possessions and things of that nature.
Yeah, and people literally are on the brink of disaster. You know, Deltrick, he made a comment. He said, "Good morning from Texas. Please pray for me in my marriage. I almost gave up last night, but I refuse to allow anyone to tell me I'm incapable of change. Through God, all things are possible." And that resonates because, you know what, truth be told, I had been apologizing and saying I'm sorry and I'm going to do better and I'm going to do right. It didn't matter what I was saying because I wasn't changing. There was no physical evidence of my change. I kept going in with the same negative habits and behaviors that got me in trouble in the first place. And Danielle, it was hard for her to accept it. She was just like, yeah, whatever. Like, my words meant absolutely nothing. She was waiting for my deeds to be consistent with my words. And even when I began to change, still it was hard to believe it.
I wouldn't even say I was waiting for your deeds to change, because the truth is that I had already had a set mind or perspective. My mindset was set that you would never change. So I wasn't even expecting change. Mm-hmm. I was more so expecting more of the same, right? Because that's what you had shown me. And what we do is we observe people and we begin to observe those patterns. And now we believe the patterns. People always tell you, when you show me who you are, I'm going to believe you, right? So even though you might have said over and over again, this is going to change, that is going to change, the pattern, it was so consistent that I had already decided you will never change. And that in and of itself was a problem, because now I was justified in my wall building. Right? Because I already know you're never going to change. I know that this is going to be the way that it is. And so let me just figure out how I can function in this environment. And the only way that I can function in this environment with somebody who I feel like is never going to change is to build a wall of separation so that I can protect myself and be safe in my wall. So now it doesn't matter what you do, how you do it. You're going to just be you. I'm just going to be me. Remember those things? You do you. I'll do me. Remember those words?
I remember that.
That was the wall of separation going up with not even a peekaboo hole, because I wasn't even trying to see what you were doing or how you were trying to navigate my wall. It was a wrap for me. And that's why when we talk about the consistency, when people start to turn around, when we get to that point, that consistency and that long-term view that breaks the pattern for that person actually helps you to hope again or to believe again.
Absolutely. And here we have a comment. Good morning. Oh, no, wrong one. It skipped. It says, my husband refuses to do counseling. What do? I refuse to do counseling. I wasn't trying to go. I didn't want to go. I didn't want nobody in my business. I didn't want nobody telling me what to do. I wasn't trying to go to my pastor because I'm like, nah.
You don't need to know what's going on over here.
Going on up in here. We can figure this out on our own. Listen, I've been successful in my life and in my career. Then why can't I be successful in the relationship? And I was resistant. And I think a lot of men struggle with going to counseling because we're the man. We're the leader. We're the head. We're supposed to know. We're supposed to figure things out. We're the guys who try to figure out how to turn things around. So why can't we turn our relationship around? And so there's internal resistance a lot of times in a spouse where they're not willing to be humble enough and teachable enough and coachable enough to do something different. And so I was in that same place.
Yes.
And so you have to understand that people are motivated by different things. We say this all the time. And as women, many of you who are in a miserable relationship, you're motivated by the hope of the possibility that things can turn around and get better. And so I'm just holding on and I'm just believing and I'm just praying. And even though I don't have the evidence of it, I'm willing to go to counseling and all of that. At that point, the men aren't motivated. They are motivated by the fear of loss. When they finally believe and get to the realization that they may lose their wife, that they may lose their family, that all will be lost, that's when things begin.
Why does it take them so long?
I don't know why it takes us that long.
Oh my goodness.
But that's what we do oftentimes. And so once I heard you do you and I'ma do me, I'm like, okay. That's different.
That was the alarm.
That was the alarm bell.
And I saw a different dude after that, but we'll tell you more about that when we come back after this.
But check it out. It wasn't a threat. It wasn't an ultimatum. It was for real. And a lot of you are threatening and giving ultimatums to your spouse, and they can sniff out the fact that it ain't real. You don't mean it. They know how you behave. They know that you're going to just do the same thing over and over again, take them back or apologize, fall on the sword. No. At some point, it's going to be real. And I always say this about women, that when a woman's grace actually breaks, there's nothing you can do about it. Don't let your relationship get to that point. Listen, guys, I hope you're getting something out of this. You're watching the Couples Academy show. Stay with us, and we're going to show you how you can get unstuck in your miserable marriage. Be right back. How to get unstuck when you're in a miserable marriage. How to get unstuck. Listen, we were stuck, and we were stuck for many reasons. One of the things that we struggled with amongst many was our finances. We were broke, busted, disgusted, barely had a pot to pee in, barely had half a window to throw it out.
Right on.
We were struggling.
You ain't never told a lie. Now, let me tell you something, y'all. When your money is funny, your love is out the door. I mean, it is an issue because now all you're focused on, and I'm not going to speak for the men, I'm going to speak for the women, especially the strong women out there who, came from a single family and you didn't have a mother, father, seeing two parents work together to make it happen. All I had was my mom, and all I did is see her do things. And so when things were going south financially and our stability and security was not on strong ground, all I was thinking of, save the day. Put my Superwoman cape on, fix it, do it. The last thing I was thinking about is intimacy, connecting, our relationship. That was the last thing. And then what happens is your perspective changes and you start seeing that person as a weight. You see, finances being out of control is a huge love buster.
Oh, straight up and down. And that was a major problem because you know what? I was single, I was making money, I was doing my thing. But then when we got married and then I had a wife and then children, it just became a whole nother situation.
Why didn't anybody tell us, wait? I tell people all the time, newlyweds, I'm like, give yourself 2 to 3 years. The baby ain't going nowhere. You got all this time. Once they're here, they're here. Give yourself some time.
Absolutely. Live
your marriage as a single couple. Travel. Experience the world. Experience that freedom that you have without children. Because once they come, they're the responsibility and they become the focus.
So from 1 month to the next, we literally had to sit down and figure out what bill we were not going to pay.
Right.
Okay, so do we want the water off this month? Do we want the lights? I remember one time being in an argument and the lights went out. In the midst of an argument, and we were already mad. We were already at each other's throats. That just took it to 10. And so this is what I'm saying.
Y'all know what it is. There's a lot of people out there that
they know what it is.
Understand the journey.
The late notices on the rent, just all of that. The eviction, like
gas
these
out
were
in the winter. Oil out in the winter. That's the bad. When
that was
when
the
the
worst.
oil goes out in the winter.
And then you got to wait like 30 days or whatever it is to get it turned back on. So you're freezing, right? It's colder inside your house than it is
the house.
This is real talk. This is real talk.
This is our testimony right here.
One day you'll get the full story. You'll get it. And so listen, there's so many comments I want to get to. Nigel says, what about if one spouse does not want to try to work things out? Well, she didn't want to work things out. And that's the point that I'm making. This is the problem with men in particular, and women, you have this issue too. You're like, well, fine. Well, he don't want to do nothing, so therefore I'm not going to do nothing. Or she ain't trying to get started with nothing, so what's the point? And the reality is it always takes one person to start a process. The fact is, if both of you are miserable, you're not going to be highly motivated and on the same page all the time to restore the relationship. It will take one to initiate the process, and eventually your partner will come around. So in the first initial part of the process, I was doing all the work, and eventually Danielle got on board.
That's true. Here's another comment from D. What if you already had kids when you got married? I think that can exasperate the issue tremendously, right? Blended families, so you have a different level of attention. Nonetheless, it's still attention. Mixing those families, figuring out parenting styles and all those things, it can be very frustrating to learn how to do that. That's just a hurdle that you're coming into when you start the relationship, as opposed to you brought that into the relationship later.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So let's get into some tips. Like there's some things that you can legitimately do to change your situation around if you are unstuck. Number one, talk to your spouse about your feelings, taking responsibility where you can, and avoid putting the blame entirely on him or her. Listen, the way you feel, you need to own it. And I think what happens is we're always pointing the finger at our spouse, not realizing that there are three fingers pointing right back at us. I hear this all the time. 95% of the issues in our relationship is because of him. I'm like 95%. Like really?
Yeah.
How unpack that for me. Tell me how that's possible.
Or just tell me about your 5%. How
right.
about that?
well, I'm still. I don't. Well. Yeah. Like it's so vague. They don't know, but they clearly know what's wrong with their spouse. And the reality is, listen, you can't do anything to change your partner. The only thing you can do is change yourself. And if you work on your 5% and allow somebody else to work on your spouse's 95, things can begin to shift and change. But becoming an expert and getting a PhD in your partner's problems is not going to make those problems go away. The next thing you need to do, express the seriousness of the issue and potential consequences if your needs aren't met. And I think we've had those conversations in our relationship. Like, listen, if things don't change, then we're going to have to figure something out. So it wasn't about a threat. See, the thing is, many of you use as a defense mechanism the D word. You're always throwing out divorce. And maybe when you're throwing it out, you have your spouse believing that it's all going to be over, and it's a form of control and manipulation a lot of times. And we're not suggesting that you use this as a form of control and manipulation, but at the same time, you need to establish healthy boundaries in your relationship so things don't continue to go the way they've always been. And if you don't have a punishment reward system, if you don't have, I don't know, some type of accountability in your relationship, then how will things ever change?
They won't.
There's got to be something that motivates that person to make a difference, and something that shifts your relationship in the right direction.
So true, so true. Listen, guys, we're going to a break. We got a lot of comments that I want to jump to on the backside of this break, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
Sign up today for the Better Marriage Club and receive exclusive access to the private Facebook group to get your questions answered and your problems solved. Access to our marriage library of live seminars. Watch the Couples Academy Daily Show. Call the help hotline for laser coaching. Get our weekly action guides and receive a private one-on-one call with one of our marriage coaches. To join the Better Marriage Club, simply text MARRIAGE to 973-490-4668. Join today. Your marriage deserves it.
guys, you are watching the Couples Academy show. I'm laughing because Asani said energy right before we start because I'm exhausted. Can I keep it real? Somebody just said I gotta acknowledge KP Sims says you both still look as if there's tension between you. Listen, the drama that we're talking about is like over 12, maybe even longer, 12 years ago. We've been on, not that we don't have problems, guys, we have problems every day, but the problem we have today is exhaustion. So listen, we're doing the best that we can. We're trying to stay committed to you, to bring this information to you so that you can pick these tips up and make your relationship better, because Hassani and I ebb and flow just like you do. We have good days, we have bad days, we have excited, full of energy days, and we have dragging our tails to this chair day. And today is one of those days, okay? But we still gonna make it do what it do, okay? So let's go to the next comment here. Lenitra says, Danielle, you just said a whole word, message, book, etc. This is exactly the way that I feel. And she was referencing the whole issue of consistency, right? When we don't see consistency in our partners, we struggle to believe. And so we just turn off the believe switch. It's like, it's too exhausting to have hope. You know, the light switches up and you put the lights on and you see the same Joker doing the same thing. So you just flip the switch and turn the lights off so you don't see it because you don't believe. And that's one thing that we need to understand, is that when we say we're going to do something different, even if we don't have our own ability to do so, get into some counseling to help you. I love that comment that you read from the one who said that I refuse to tell somebody that I can't let somebody tell me that they can't change. Get in the hands of some counseling so they can support you in your change so that you can have consistency.
Richard says, me and my wife are working things out, and I'm so grateful to the lessons I've learned. So thank you. However, how can I be patient in waiting for her to get us to wear our wedding rings again? Now, this is a real issue because people do, in their frustration, in their desperation, they'll take those wedding rings off and not even think about putting those things on again. Listen, you can't do it by force. You can't manipulate, persuade, control your spouse to put that ring back on, because it won't be authentic. This is an issue of the heart. Where's your ring, Danielle? See what I'm saying? You know what's crazy? I was on a television show like years ago, and it was in Atlanta. I was on a television show on I think it was TV One, and I'm the relationship expert, and we're talking about marriage. And the dude is just like, so you married and you don't have a ring on, and just put me on, just totally exposed me on television. What they didn't realize, what had happened was,
but people take their rings off.
This is true.
So he was seeing that.
But what had happened was, I had lost my ring, and it was a minute before I got another one, and I'm just like, oh my God, I gotta get a ring. But where's your ring at?
My ring is It's being repaired, y'all. It was broke, so it's getting repaired and prepared to be put back on my ring.
There it is.
So that all the world will know. Okay.
But the issue is, it's a matter of the heart. Like, for her to put her ring back on means that she's now committed to the process of restoration. So if you do it by force, you won't feel like it's genuine. She will feel like it's forced, and it's just not gonna work. So wear your ring, represent your marriage, show her your commitment, be consistent in doing the right thing, and so make her a believer again. And when that ring goes on, it is a symbolic representation of what's happening on the inside.
Here's another one. Tiffany says, it's so difficult to change your mindset when your partner's changes are inconsistent. Danielle, I feel exactly like that, but am now realizing that my wall didn't make things better either. Good point. To Hassani's point, that consistency is important. Be someone of integrity. And you know what being of integrity means? It doesn't mean that you have all the answers and know exactly what to do. It means that you have a willingness to find out what to do, to learn what to do. You have a willingness to do the right thing, and that's all we need. Show me, don't tell me, show me.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. Angel, question: how do you come up with a consequence reward system? Well, it's not something that you create and give to your spouse. It's something you two authentically do together. There's a principle that says if you want your spouse to buy into something, allow them to weigh into it. So their weigh-in leads to their buy-in. So sit down and have a conversation. We've talked about the importance of having work days. And in your work day, you can say, listen, there have been betrayals and violations and bad behaviors. And obviously we want to stay in this marriage, but I can't allow these things to continue without any type of a repercussion, if you will, because it will justify you continuing to do it because there's no consequence. So what can we establish for us in our marriage that protects us from our own bad behavior? Having that conversation is a start, and I think it's a healthy
We got another good one here. Tanya says, yes, so true. It wasn't until I gave up completely on my marriage, started to focus on me, he felt me leaving. Then he began to shift. And we talk about, draw the circle around your own 2 feet. It only takes one, right? And someone has another comment about, what do I do? He won't change. He won't come to counseling. Sometimes it takes for you to focus on you. What is your participation in this? What can you do to become better, to become stronger? We are so busy doing this. When are you going to pay attention to me? I'm right here. Fix yourself. Can you fix this marriage? And we're waiting on that person to do something when we have the ability to do something. God is no respecter of person. You have purpose as well. You have meaning. You have a brain. You can think. You can do things. And so to focus on yourself and get yourself into some counseling to become a better you will automatically shift how other people treat you, because you are not the same person. You won't treat a different person the same way as someone else.
And listen, we're not talking about becoming ice cold, building up walls, operating in bitterness and unforgiveness, not willing to talk, not willing to cook, not willing to come together and have. We're not talking about that. You don't want to become worse. You don't want to give the least of who you are. You want to give the best of who you are. It means go through a process of your own healing. Take your eyes off your partner and allow your eyes to look inwardly at yourself. We talk about the 3 relationships. The relationship you have with God, vertical, yourself, internal, your spouse, horizontal. Focus on this internal and vertical one, becoming the best version of yourself. So because when you show up differently, things automatically begin to shift in the relationship.
Okay, I got another question. I got to find it. I see you, Cynthia. Okay, here we go. Norina, what do you do when your spouse seems more like a roommate and intimacy starts to feel like a chore, especially when you have kiddos?
Yeah, it happens. It's happened for us. I think it happens for so many people. These are one of the seasons and phases that you go through in a relationship. And so you have to kind of reverse engineer and figure out where this all started. How do we go down the slippery slope where we've gone from being soulmates to role mates to roommates, and in some rare cases, cellmates, because we're trapped in a marital prison. There was an emotional disconnect, and oftentimes the disconnect creates this roommate feeling. And so we talk about it all the time, the difference between partnership and companionship. When we say I do, oftentimes many of us give up our relationship for the sake of the marriage. The marriage is about making money and paying bills and raising kids and all the duties and responsibilities of the household. The relationship is about connection and quality time and recreational companionship. The fact is, you probably stopped doing those things because other things became a priority. So if you want to move from roommate to roommate to soulmate, then you got to do the things that you initially did to get in that in-love feeling in the first place. When that's done like a habit, things begin to shift and change.
I have to also add to this, because this is a reality for me, and I've talked about it openly, that I felt no interest whatsoever after the children. I was just like all about the kids. Hassani was busy traveling a lot. I was home with the kids, and I'm talking about when they were little. But this mindset that I accepted kind of followed me through the years, where I had less and less interest. And there's something to be said about our mindset taking on a certain belief. It's really how we form habits. And once you have habits, it's just a way about doing things, right? So we talk a lot about how we were 2 ships passing in our house, like how I would avoid him like this and dress up in like muumuu and unsexy clothes so that he wouldn't even look at me, run away if I was changing in my bedroom so he wouldn't see me, because I didn't want him to be interested, because I wasn't interested. Why? Because I had 1,000 things on my mind. I had the kids on my mind. I had the house on my mind. I had work on my mind. Everything that has to go on was on my mind. So the last thing that was on my mind, matter of fact, didn't even make the list, was connecting and intimacy. So it did feel like yet another chore. And at that time, when I didn't feel like Hassani was equally matching my efforts in the marriage as far as all the other things that had to get done, I wasn't interested in meeting his needs because my needs were not being met. And I think that's a big piece, is that we have to figure out a way to get our spouses to understand that I get that you have this intimacy sexual need. I get that. but I also have these needs over here. And if we can meet somewhere in the middle, then we'd have a sweet spot. Then we have a place to move forward from it. And it's really about working hard to get to that sweet spot in the middle. You know, right now, me and Hassan, we can, you know, get it on anytime.
It was a late night.
It was a late night, right?
All right. That's why she's so tired.
Wait, Madison,
All right.
Anyway.
But here
But you get the point, right? We got our producer in here, but you get the point. It's about meeting in the middle. Stop thinking that your needs are a priority over your spouse's need. It's not so. They're just different. Women get tired of men saying, I'm a man. Men have needs. We're women. We have needs. And even though we're massively capable and we carry a lot on our shoulders, we still need you.
Guys, I hope you're getting something out of this conversation. We were talking about how to get unstuck if you're miserable. Obviously, we got to keep this thing going because the chat is blowing up. We've only gotten to 2 points. We're going to do a part 2 tomorrow. You need to tune in at 9:30. Do me a favor, share. There's so many people in your world who are going through the same exact thing, and they need somebody to give them a lifeline, and this may be the very thing. Listen, the Last Chance Weekend is coming up next weekend. Why are you waiting? If you think watching this show is enough, you're sadly mistaken. You gotta do something. Get up off your shoulders, put one foot in front of the other, set up a discovery call, get involved in this Last Chance Weekend, turn your relationship around, stop relying on yourself to do something that you don't have the capability of doing. We have resources that can help you. Guys, we love you.
I love y'all's comments. We'll see you tomorrow.
Tomorrow for another great day. You're watching the Couples Academy Show.
Bye.
Boom.
If you would like to be a guest on our show, or if you're interested in one of our restoration programs, contact us today at couplesacademy.org.